Israeli sources have revealed a secret plan that would separate the Shuafat refugee camp and surrounding neighborhoods from the Jerusalem Municipality. Kafr Aqab, which lies north of the city, would also be affected. The reasoning behind that, according to the source, to preserve Jerusalem's Jewish majority. If the plans go through, the 140,000 Palestinian residents who live in the camp and surrounding town would lose their Israeli citizenship. Israel's Channel 10 reported that the plans will separate the areas administratively and merge them into a single entity outside Jerusalem, but will still be under full Israeli control. The Shuafat refugee camp and Kafr Aqab have long suffered neglect, with poor services and interruption in power and water supplies being the norm. Will this scheme alleviate those poor conditions and improve governance? Or is it a plot to drastically shrink the city's Palestinian population? And with 140,000 Palestinians under threat of losing their Israeli citizenship, how will that affect Israel's future elections and demographics? Well, joining me now from Tel Aviv is Dan Shuafat. He's an Israeli academic and chairman of the National Security Studies Center at the University of Haifa. And from Ramallah, Dr. Mustafa Barghouti. He's a Palestinian physician, activist and politician who serves as General Secretary of the Palestine National Initiative. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Mustafa Barghouti, what do you make of these new plans for Jerusalem?
It's part of a systematic approach that Israel has been using since 50 years. Which is to try to Judaize not just the East Jerusalem, which was occupied by Israel, but also the rest of the West Bank. What Israel is trying to do is to systematically falsify the past, the history, and falsify the existing situation with the hope that the future will also be falsified. And in my opinion, Israel is violating international law. And this is not only my opinion. This is the opinion of so many organizations in this world. This is the opinion of the International Court of Justice in The Hague, which represents the highest court in the world, and which indicated that all Israeli measures in Jerusalem, whether building settlements inside the city or around it, whether changing facts on the ground, whether building the wall, or the process of appropriation of Palestinian properties is violating the international law and should be reversed. One more thing, I think after these 50 years of occupation, what we witness today is a system of apartheid, a system of racial discrimination against Palestinian people that affects not only Palestinians in Jerusalem, but in Palestine in total.
Okay, Dan Shuafat, systematic plan has been going on for 50 years. This is apartheid changing the facts on the ground. How do you see it?
Look, I don't think I should take seriously the kind of accusations and complaints and excuses that Palestinians substitute for foreign policy. Let me say this: Jerusalem has been the center of Jewish life for 3,000 years.
Why can't you take it seriously?
We have today a city that... Because it's a bunch of lies and complaints that you can't take seriously, and I don't want to waste my time on them. But
I think, sir, you are lying now, because you cannot accuse others of being liars. This is unacceptable.
Dr. Barghouti, give him a chance, and then you can jump back in. Dr. Barghouti, give him a chance to finish, and then you can jump back in.
You say I am a liar, you are a bigger liar.
Palestinians, I think Palestinians have to learn to be civilized in a discussion. And in this discussion, please let me say whatever I want.
Well, being civilized doesn't mean you say that we are saying lies.
Dr. Barghouti, give him a chance. Let him finish. I'll give you an opportunity to come back. Go ahead, sir.
But I don't allow him to say that we are lying.
Okay.
Certainly, and that's noted.
Now, if he will not... of course you're lying. You're systematically lying every time you speak. But if...
Then you are not civilized.
Okay. I stand on this, and if you will, look, if you will let me speak, fine. If not, can you please put him off the air so that we can have an intelligent discussion?
Dr. Barghouti, if you give him a chance to do 2 or 3 sentences, and then you can come back, right? So, sir, Dan Shuafat, let's talk about the specifics here. You've said he's lying, and you've said you don't take what he says seriously. Let me ask you about this particular plan, right, where 140,000 people might lose their Israeli citizenship, And there's a plan, some might see it as gerrymandering, changing facts on the ground in East Jerusalem. How do you see that? Is there room for criticism for that?
Look, there is no right that Palestinians have to become Israeli citizens. When part of these neighborhoods became under Israeli rule 50 years ago, they were given not citizenship, but permanent residence in this area. They could apply for citizenship, very few have. So you will not remove citizenship from him. But again, if you take parts of the city and they will no longer be parts of Israel, of course, the Palestinians living in them will not have permanent residence in Jerusalem. This is evidence. Now, you don't need a secret plan for it. This is what could happen. If it will happen, there will be public debate in Israel about it, since this is an open society and everything comes out in the open. I will be delighted if it happens, because it means Jerusalem will be smaller, but it will contain much less Palestinians. So if the Palestinians really want to become citizens of Israel, this is a new game, and we have to discuss it again.
Okay.
But what is happening in Jerusalem is you have Jews and you have Arabs, and the Arabs don't have a right to become Israeli citizens unless their part is part of the state of Israel.
Okay, so you've made your point. Now let's bring in Mustafa Barghouti. Mustafa Barghouti, you don't have a right, you don't have a say. This is Israel's. They annexed it in 1980. It's their city. They can do what they want to with it.
This is Israel, and this is
that's
apartheid.
Not what I
exactly.
Said. I said
imagine
that if
a situation.
Israel will
Imagine
not
a situation.
Be in control of a
imagine a
certain
situation
area.
where Greece. Will you shut up so that I can speak now? Shut up. Imagine a situation where Greece is occupying now a Turkish city, let's say Istanbul. And then they declare that the residents of Istanbul are not residents of their own city, but they are temporary residents. And then they take away their land, they take away their homes, and then they tell them you don't have the right to be in Istanbul. This is exactly what Israel is doing to Jerusalem. They occupied the city in 1967 illegally, by force, by war, which is a violating of international law. And then they annexed the land and declared the citizens as temporary residents. And then if they are taking away their right to be residents of the city.
Okay.
This is not only apartheid, this is a criminal act in every possible way.
Okay.
And I think we will hold them responsible. One day, they will be responsible for war crimes that they are committing against Palestinians by establishing and sustaining this system of apartheid.
Okay, if you'd allow me, if we can just agree on some baselines of this discussion. Now, you both have different historical arguments backing your claims. But if we can, because you took issue with me saying Israel annexed it in 1980, you can do what you want to. I'm not making this up myself.
No.
Israel did annex it in 1980. Nobody else recognizes Jerusalem as the united capital of Israel except for Israel. So I'm only mentioning it as a fact based on UN mandates. I'm not making this up. So can we accept that the annexation happened and that nobody else recognizes it except for Israel, sir?
Yes, but that's not the point. You see,
tell me why I'm wrong.
The question is, if Arabs whose neighborhoods are not part of Israel, if one day Israel will say, here is a neighborhood in Jerusalem, and we no longer want it as part of Israel. In that case, the people living there, the way they got their permanent residence, will lose their permanent residence. They got it because this
Why don't you leave East Jerusalem in general?
And they will lose
Why do you keep East Jerusalem? Why do you keep Al-Aqsa Mosque?
If this guy cannot have a
Palestinian land,
why do you want to come back?
cannot make an argument.
Sure.
Why don't you get out of all occupied territories?
Both of you, please.
This person needs to learn how to make a civilized discussion.
Okay, Mr. Shuafat, give me a second.
If he will not let me speak, then there is no point of me being
I don't want that to happen.
Can you please put his microphone off so
I don't want to do
we
that.
can have an interesting discussion.
I don't want to do that.
Then I can listen to whatever he says.
Okay, good. So I don't want to...
This is not a way that you can have a civilized discussion.
Accepted. I don't want to cut anybody's microphone.
Because you are not
and I don't want both of you talking over each other. So, Dr. Barghouti, if you'd give him 30 seconds, please, to make his point, and then you can come back in. Please, sir. Okay, Dan Shuafat, please, make your point, sir.
again, these people got Israeli permanent residence when their neighborhoods became part of the Israeli Jerusalem. If one day, and by the way, there is no plan for it, and I'm sorry there is no plan for it, but there is no plan for it. But if one day, say Beit Hanina or Shuafat will no longer be part of Israel, then the people living in Beit Hanina and in Shuafat will no longer have permanent residence inside Israel. It is self-evident, and it only stands to reason. I mean, if somebody wants to say that Palestinians have the right to have permanent residence in Israel because they feel like it, even if their neighborhoods are not part of Israel, I think it's a ridiculous argument.
Okay, Mustafa Barghouti, why not accept them being absorbed under the Palestinian Authority and hopefully they become citizens of a Palestinian state in a two-state solution?
We don't want to be part of Israel. We don't want to have residency in Israel, but they are occupying our land. East Jerusalem is occupied by Israel. They have to get out of all East Jerusalem, including the old city, which is Palestinian by international law. They have to end the occupation, and then nobody will have a problem with them. But the reality is that they annexed all these territories, then they squeezed the people inside the old city and inside big parts of Jerusalem. They don't give them the rights to build. They don't allow them to build in these places. They force them to go out to these neighborhoods around Jerusalem. And after they went out, now they want to cut these areas and say to them, you are no more residents of your own city, Jerusalem. Let me tell you, I was born in Jerusalem. I was a doctor in Jerusalem for 15 years. Since 2005, when I ran for president, they deny me the right to visit Jerusalem, where I was born. East Jerusalem is not Israel. By international law, East Jerusalem is occupied. We want East Jerusalem to be free and part of the Palestinian state, like all occupied territories. Otherwise, if Israel wants to kill the two-state solution, and if they continue to consolidate this system of apartheid, then they are calling for one-state solution.
Okay, so
in which case, I have the right to live in Jaffa, because Jaffa was part of the Palestinian state according to partition plan of the United Nations, which is, of course, denied by Israel.
Okay, so Dan Shweiftan, if Israel continues to, if I understand Dr. Barghouti correctly, if Israel continues to separate and distinguish between East Jerusalem and the West Bank and say, okay, the West Bank is occupied, but East Jerusalem is not, according to Mustafa Barghouti, that means Israel doesn't believe in the two-state solution. What do you think?
Look, the Palestinians were offered the Palestinian state again and again and again and rejected it always. They rejected it in 1947 in order to destroy the Jews and kill the Jews. They said it very openly.
This is not true.
They rejected it in the year 2000 in Camp David. They rejected it. You see, he's making a civilized discussion impossible by not letting anybody else speak.
Because you are lying. Because you are now lying very clearly and bluntly.
This is, you see.
Okay. If you both have different interpretations of whether it was accepted or rejected.
You are being racist.
I don't want to say
Palestinian culture is much better than your
uncivilized person.
Hold on for a second.
With an uncivilized person.
Okay.
An uncivilized person does not belong in a discussion.
You are arrogant,
if he cannot
Mr. Barghouti. I've chaired these debates for years, and I know you both disagree on the fundamentals of it. One says it wasn't an offer, one says it was rejected. That's fine. Can we please, Dr. Barghouti, let the man finish his point? You believe that it's not true what he's saying. He says the Palestinians rejected a state. That's where you differ. But let him finish his point. Let's move beyond that. Dan Shweiftan, go ahead.
It's not true.
Anybody who's not profoundly distorted knows that, and by the way, Palestinian literature confirms it, political literature, that in 1948 the Palestinians rejected the partition plan and wanted to bring about destruction over the Jews. They said it openly. The leader cooperated with the Nazis, Haj Amin al-Husseini, a very good friend of Adolf Hitler. They worked together. These people later made war against Israel, and this is what caused the occupation in 1967. They were offered a Palestinian state in Camp David in the year 2000. They were offered again a Palestinian state in 2008 by
But does that mean, Mr. Shuafat, that the occupation must continue forever?
As much as they were offered in the past. They rejected everything.
Does it mean it must continue forever,
They call
sir?
the right of return, namely the destruction of Israel by demographic means. There will not be an agreement because the Palestinians don't want an agreement, are incapable of taking responsibility for their own future. In the past, they believed that the Arab armies will get Palestine for them. Now they believe that Europe or the support of leftist elements in the world will get a Palestinian state for them.
Let me ask you.
It will not work.
Okay, so
they
does
don't
that
want an
mean
agreement. Israel has no partner for an agreement.
Does that mean the occupation must just continue indefinitely because the Palestinians are not ready to be unoccupied, in your opinion?
Look, my own political position is unilateral disengagement. I suggested it in Gaza. I'm delighted we did it. We got out unilaterally. What we got there is a barbaric state of terrorism with about almost half the Palestinian people. These barbarians want to kill Israeli children more than they want to give their children a better future. And I would want to get out of most of the West Bank, not because the Palestinians deserve it, not because it will bring peace, but because I don't want to cohabitate with them in one political entity. I hope very much we will do it unilaterally, because I'm afraid there is no Palestinian partner for any kind of agreement.
Okay, Mustafa Barghouti, final word from you, sir, please. We're running out of time. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, what you have heard is very clear racist approach of people who think they are better than others, of people who try to degrade the Palestinian people. They don't respect our lives, they don't respect our culture, they don't respect our political opinions, and everything he said are lies. In 1947, Israel did not accept also the partition plan. And Avi Shlaim, who's an Israeli historian, proved it, that there was no one document that shows that Israel accepted 1947 plan. Second, 67 war was conducted by Israel against Syria, against Jordan, and against the Palestinians, and against Egypt. It was Israel that launched the attack, and this is a well-established historical fact. Third, Israel is the only country in the world, and I challenge the person you are talking to tell me what are the borders of Israel. Israel is the only country in the world that never says what are their borders. And that's why they don't do so, because they want to keep expanding at the expense of other people's territories.
We are severely out of time here. I've got to cut elsewhere in the program now. So, gentlemen, I thank you for your time. Thanks so much.